Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without... Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Jays, what's going on? Hello there, and welcome to the 5th of December, as far as I know. How you doing? We got a slight change in plans today, if all goes correctly. It's a Tuesday, which normally would mean my sister would be here, but she graciously stepped aside this morning because I'm expecting somebody else to call in. And this person is hard to get. So I want to get her while I can. And since she's on the front page of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette today and all over the Twitter sphere, enjoying a lot of love, I definitely wanted her on the show. I'm talking, of course, about Sally Wiggin. Actually, the way this happened is I was looking at my Twitter account last evening, and someone tweeted, something like, well, we all know who Lynn Cullen's going to be talking about tomorrow. And I read that and I thought, we do? What? I mean, what? There's somebody I'm supposed to be talking about tomorrow? I literally didn't know what they were talking about. And so I did a little gumshoe journalistic reporting and then saw that Sally had announced her retirement from WTAE TV. And I mean, she is as long-serving an anchor presence in this city as, I don't know if that's totally true in terms of just flat-out years, but I suspect it might be. And anyone who knows her work knows it's impeccable. She's got enough awards to suggest that that's not just my opinion. But also, anyone who knows her knows that she's funny as hell and smart as hell and is a pretty remarkable human being. And I'm just looking forward to talking to her. This is all very, so I just gave her this number, and I'm hoping she utilizes it as soon as she gets a chance. So we're waiting for Sal, who, she's on? She there? Okay. Sally, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Because I'm in a car. I'm not driving. Our crack photographer, Andy Cunningham, is driving. Photographers are interesting. You know, they like to do all the driving. They don't like me to drive. I have had about 12 accidents. I've had 12. He wanted to know how many accidents I'd had in my life.
No, because I mean, what if your insurance agent's listening? I mean, you know, it could be.
Oh no, let's not talk about that. Well, sometimes I pay for them myself because my rates are already high enough. But anyway, so why we're going through a tunnel. Can you hear me?
Sure. Tunnel schmunnel. It's okay.
Is Susan
no,
on the phone?
No, you know, Susan is not, and I'm sorry, because I told her you were coming on, and she said, well, why, let you and Sally talk. She says, by the way, hello. And
I miss her. I wanted to go visit. She's still in St. Louis, right?
No, she's in Chicago now.
Oh, that's right. No, you know what? The moment I said that, I knew that she'd moved to Chicago to be a grandma, right?
Right, because both her kids are there. But Sally, so I was just saying, I last night picked up my phone and was looking at Twitter, and it said, there was a tweet saying, well, we all know who Lynn Cullen's going to be talking about tomorrow. And I said, we do? I didn't know. I thought, who the hell is Lynn Cullen talking about tomorrow? So I looked around to see what the hell was happening, and then came upon your announcement. Geez, hell of a way to go out on Monday Night friggin' Football, Wiggin.
Well, and I think that's why they wanted to do it. We initially my agent had talked with them, and they had agreed that because I was still going to be working for the station for a year, that it didn't. Once we got into this part of my service to the station, which is time-wise about the same. Actually, it may be a little bit more, but especially if the team goes to the Super Bowl, because I will be part of Black and Gold Primetime there. But I won't have to be at the station all the time. In my designation is different, and I can work at home, although I get distracted so easily. I don't know how that's going to
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work either. But your designation, wait a minute. You said designation. From what I can see in your designation from the paper, you are now an icon and a fixture. You know,
God.
Toilets are fixtures. I know.
I have to tell you, Joe Revito, did you see the quote from, actually the quote from Joe, I started to cry. And the text he sent me last night, or was it this morning? I can't remember. I didn't get back to the room until 2 a.m. because we were there late. I started crying.
Well, sure.
You know, but so many people are called legends and icons. And really, you know, legends are people who do something to help humanity. I haven't done anything like that, and I mean, I'm a freaking, you know, local news anchor now, documentary anchor. You know, that's not a legend.
Well, okay.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. If people want to call you a legend, you got to say thank you very much. You know,
legend just means you've been around for a long time.
That's right.
Don't have anything better to do.
It means the next time people start talking about you being a legend, it'll be at your funeral. That's the way that works, right?
Well, yeah. Oh God, that may be sooner than later.
Well, you stop. No. Just stop.
Yeah, but the designation now is and they were really wonderful because we agreed upon what projects, and they really wanted me to do Chronicle. And they're hard, Ninu. I called you Ninu. Is that okay?
I don't know she called me by my family nickname. I think that's okay. It's okay. I think Susan slipped a few times too. But you know, people.
Okay, Lynn.
Call me whatever you damn well please. I really don't care.
Well, you know, and I'm going to say this now. I never wanted a career to last this long. My vision was that if I stayed in Pittsburgh, I was going to get married, have children, and have a husband who supported me, and I would be a stay-at-home mom. People don't know that, but that in 1986, that was in my mind when I decided to stay in Pittsburgh rather than, you know, go all bore into being. I was one of three being considered for a New York WCBS job, and I wanted to stay in Pittsburgh. And in the back of my head, it was this guy that I thought I might marry. And that's kind of why I made the decision, which is not very career-oriented. And back in 2002, I thought there might be that, finally. And, I mean, I certainly tried plenty of times. I mean, who's been married once, engaged 2 other times besides that, and then there was another 5-year. I just kept striking out, so I had to keep working. And at one point, my sister puts it this way. She said, you really were not that interested in the job until your final breakup, and you realized that, oh, I got to support myself now. There's not going to be any sugar daddy. I'm kind of stuck here. I've never been this honest with anybody on the air, but I'm being honest with you, and you know that. So
yeah, but
that's why I really kind of feel guilty when people say icon or legend. It's just because I was weird. That's all.
No, you were weird. What do you mean? That's not weird. But wait a minute. Lest people think all you wanted to do was, do an Ozzie and Harriet kind of thing. I mean, come on.
No. It had to be someone it had to be someone who could keep me in the style to which I'd become accustomed.
Yes, right. So, Sally, I mean, first of all, let me ask you a serious question before we head off on where I was heading. I mean, people, I don't want to butter you up too much, but you're beautiful, you're bright, you're funny, you're this, you're that. You're a known entity. Everybody knows you. So don't you think that has a lot to do why you never found a husband in Pittsburgh? Come on. I'm speaking as another one.
No. To be honest, there were some really great guys that kind of picked me, but they were going through difficult times, and who I was probably factored into that. And then when it didn't turn out like they expected, it wasn't a good match. I just wasn't a good match for them, and I'm not being kind. If I really look in the mirror, I'm being truthful. But after some of them, I just became I didn't trust myself to pick somebody, and so I had been burned so many times because I'd made mistakes, and they were my mistakes. It wasn't the guys, and so it's easy to blame, being when you're a woman because of maybe how you look or what your IQ is. I wasn't a good match for the people that I wanted to be with, and that's on me. That's not on them. That's on me.
All right. Enough of this.
Does that make sense?
No, and I know. And if we were off air, I'd give you a lot more trouble than I'm giving you now.
Well, the love of my life, I screwed that one up, and you know who I'm talking about. We're not going to mention it, but I screwed that one up, and I regret it to this day. And maybe that's why nothing ever happened, because that's the person I should have been with. But oh well. How many people? I mean,
and it wasn't the Top Gun pilot.
No.
Sally and I spent
that's enough. No more.
All right.
You can't be.
But the Top Gun pilot, I got to tell you, I mean,
was a nice guy.
Yeah.
He married a lovely woman.
Did he? Good for her.
Beautiful children.
So
he was very
wonderful.
handsome.
Yeah, right. So every time I think of him, I think of our wonderful trip in California.
I screwed up
because you were Sally and I went on a vacation, and all she did was moan about the Top Gun pilot, right?
Yeah, I was not a good traveling companion.
No, but this is your way that now you can tell how I wasn't either, because I wouldn't let you out of the car to pee.
That's true. 3 hours. 3 hours because we had passed an RV and you didn't want the RV to pass us.
It was a logging truck.
We didn't actually talk for. You know what? It's so funny. The guy that I was talking about, the one that I let get away.
Yeah.
We didn't talk for almost a day, and I called him up and was just screaming about you. I remember that.
It was yes, I am. It was a lovely vacation.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I was thinking last night about some very funny video that never made it on the air because it's a personal video of another time when we were visiting my parents in Palm Springs. Do you remember? And we went out on the golf cart. I was showing you around the area, and you were narrating. Somehow, we were narrating this, being total idiots, and all of a sudden,
because it was a very wealthy. It was your parents lived in a very wealthy, Palm Spring area
enclave. Right?
Were we being sarcastic about all the houses and the people?
Right. I remember we rounded the bend, and I said, "And there is Dinah Shore's house." Hi, Dinah. And then we came a little bit further, and we see this guy approaching on a bicycle. And I said, do you remember this? And I said, and here is one of the elderly citizens of this enclave on his morning bike ride. And as the man got closer, it became apparent it was my father.
You're dead.
And I have all that on tape.
I think I said something sarcastic about the elderly person because we weren't elderly at the time. And I have to tell you, your parents were like parents to me. And
they love
when
you.
My mother died and I was parentless, they were so special. They really were.
Oh, they loved you.
And you guys were, you guys were one of these families that was kind of like my family. Do you remember the time we had dinner at your house and your brother said something horrible to me? Was it a Seder or I can't remember? He said something awful. He thought he was being funny, and I just thought that, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. I felt so bad, but I love your brother. He's one of the most brilliant men I have ever met, man or woman.
Yeah, but
he's got a great family.
Yeah, but he says nasty things. Did he really say something? I know he loved you, and he was teasing you.
Yeah, well, it was because it was. Yeah, no, he was teasing me. We won't go into it because it would be kind of offensive to people on all kinds of people.
As a matter of fact, I think it was about the top. I think it was about the Top Gun pilot.
No, actually, we did hit that topic, but this was a topic about babies. Don't even do it.
Okay, I won't. I don't even. Oh my God. Well, Sally, I just need to talk to you about this. First of all, wait a minute. You're the hardest working human being I know. You were in Cincinnati.
No, I'm not. I'm lazy.
Wait.
Kidding? I'm so lazy.
You were in Cincinnati last night. Did you stay for the whole horrific game?
Oh yeah.
And now, and wait a minute.
I was watching ESPN. Go ahead.
There's two quick things I want to. First of all, do you know anything further about Ryan Shazier's condition?
We are hearing that it kind of leaks out that some of it they were saying on ESPN this morning, but we are hearing that it might be a spinal contusion, which if Steeler fans remember, Tommy Maddox suffered one, and it might be that. There was also on ESPN, they were saying the word was that he was going to be transferred. He was going to be transferred back to Pittsburgh, which is a really good sign that they are moving him, or not really good, but good sign they're moving him. One of the players told someone that he could feel his extremities and his legs and feet. But it was frightening. I mean, it was frightening. Horrible. And it affected the way they played afterwards, obviously. I mean, it sucked the air out of them.
Sure.
And particularly the defense, but it did everybody. And and there were a number of the people like Missy Matthews, who used to work for us for a while, and now she's works for the Steeler Channel, and she's really so talented. She could be at ESPN or CBS in a second, but she loves it here, and she has a little boy and a great husband, and she's a dear. She's mentioned in the article.
Yes,
and they quoted her, and I adore her. And she really couldn't speak. The look on her face, she looked like she was about to burst into tears because she knows a lot of these guys.
Oh, sure.
And it was so weird because on the field, before we were doing the show, when we were doing our cut-ins for the newscast, the 90-minute, doing little teases for the upcoming show, I turned around and I saw Ryan, and my eyes just lit on him because I've always loved him as a player. I don't really know him because I haven't done any pieces with him in the past couple of years, and so he has these tattoos all over his chest. And he in warm-ups, he often doesn't wear a shirt. I'm looking at Andy Cunningham, who shoots a lot of the Steelers stuff, and he's nodding. And he doesn't wear a shirt usually in warm-ups sometimes. And I remember looking at him thinking, God, I love those tattoos. You're just so, handsome and what a great player. And he's well-spoken and part of the community. And I had just focused on him. And so it's funny how things like that happen.
Yeah, well,
But everybody's obviously praying for him, and hopefully it is a spinal contusion, which is a bruise on the spine. But still, it's really scary. And the game turned into, I think John Gruden. I saw a little thing that he had he does a game summation that he tapes, and it was shown this morning on ESPN, and he called the game disgusting. And it was. I mean, it was ugly. it was ugly, and flags were flying, and the refs were trying to penalize everything. I mean, how many personal fouls did they call? And combine that with what Rob Gronkowski did, and you think that people are not going to watch this.
No, they're not.
This is what it devolves into.
No, this is the kind of thing that.
And I still love the sport, but I mean,
I know
this is not that. It's no room for all of that stuff.
So, Sally,
and I think the Steelers, in fairness to the Steelers, I think even though the hit that this happened was not a personal foul to Ryan, that's what. But it when people get upset and emotional, then they do things that maybe they shouldn't do.
Right.
Maybe they should do that they shouldn't do.
So, in case you didn't know it, Sally's career dream had been to be a sports anchor, sports reporter.
Yeah, it's the only reason I got into it. Actually, I wanted to write for Sports Illustrated, but I knew that was never going to happen. And one of my friends, who was an NCAA swimmer, he and a group of guys, it was at the NCAA championships when I was at Michigan, and we were sitting, I can remember, we were sitting in the bleachers, and I thought, I don't want to be in academia. I just don't think I can do this. I love coaching, but coaching swimming's not going to make me any money, but I love all sports. I would love to do something in sports. And one of the guys said, well, women are starting to do TV. And I remember thinking, TV would be so much easier than writing. I could do TV.
Is that how it happened? That's how it got put in your head. But the thing is,
I mean, I can.
But women weren't doing sports, Sally.
They were beginning to. Do you remember Phyllis George? Remember Miss America, Phyllis George?
Yeah, but you had to be Miss America first.
Well, that's true. I wasn't.
No, you could have been maybe Miss America first, but I mean, you can't do that.
I have no talent. The only talent I have is being loud and obnoxious. But anyway, no, and that's how it happened. And then when I got the offer in radio, because a sports guy who became a very well-known sports guy, Tony Bruno, asked me to read something, and I was just being sort of like a secretary, accounts receivable person at this radio station when I'd come home to eventually go back to college and grad school and get a broadcast journalism degree. He had me read something, and they heard my voice, and they hired me. I didn't have a lick of journalism training, not any. And so that's where it started, and he was a sports guy who was doing news in the morning at this Birmingham radio station. He was from Philly because he wanted to break into play-by-play in hockey, and he wasn't doing it in Philly where the Broad Street Bullies were. And so he taught me how to cover hockey. That was the first sport I learned to cover was hockey.
It's weird isn't it weird though how our lives unfold? I mean, how you end up, where you end up. It is so but I just want to get to a timeline here for a second. You were in Cincinnati last night. What time did you get home to bed in Pittsburgh?
I'm at home and I'm driving. No.
Oh, you're driving back now.
I didn't get to the. Hold on, let me. Andy, do you need to answer that? You sure? Andy got a call, and I don't want to monopolize his time. He's probably about to, kill me.
Okay, so you're driving back.
No,
okay.
Wait. See, I was finished by. Let me see. Ben walked into his news conference probably around. What time does the game end? And we're a half an hour after
I was asleep. I was asleep. I did not stay.
So it was the game probably ended at 11:30. It was probably midnight.
Yeah.
And then there's no one to take me back to the hotel, so I had to wait for them. I didn't get to the hotel until 2:15. And then I woke up at 7. So, but some of the guys didn't get back to 2:30, and they had to all get up because some of them are going to have to stay. And cover.
Well, they got to work. Yeah, so you just sort of, turn around and work.
So we're driving actually on the way back. And,
gotcha.
And I actually have to work this afternoon. At home, I've got to start logging. I have a deadline, and in about 2 weeks, and I'm probably going to be working. That's when everybody says retirement. I'm probably going to be working for 12 hours a day. Some of it at home, some of it at work. 12 hours a day to meet a deadline for the Chronicle that airs in January.
What's the subject matter? What are you working on for your next one?
Police and communities, the relationship between communities and police.
Wow, that's heavy.
In smaller towns. Well, no, in small towns, you'd be surprised. We look at a number of things that are sobering. That's the word I want. And then we look at some really nice, good stories.
Mm-hmm.
Good stories.
Mm-hmm.
So this is about how small towns and what the relationship is.
Okay.
And some of them are towns that are struggling. They struggle to pay their police.
Sally.
Sally. Yeah.
Sally.
Yeah.
Who was? I saw that.
What's the timeline?
No, before the game, it says in the paper today that Hines Ward already knew that you were leaving or retiring.
I think he did.
And he said, somebody told him.
Someone said something to him.
Okay,
yeah,
and he came up and he said to you, "You're lucky." And
he said congratulations. He said congratulations. I'm happy for you. You're lucky.
What did he mean by you're lucky?
I'm not sure.
What did he mean by you're lucky?
I get to retire. I mean, you get to retire and just enjoy life. Jonathan Hayes said the same thing.
Right.
I mean, they're all younger than I am, and so I was really surprised. He was really happy. He said, "I'm happy for you," and what they don't, and then I said to him, that's not in there. I said, no, well, I'm going to still be working for another year. But I had one of my favorite stories was Dancing with the Stars.
Okay, well, tell it.
I know, it's so heavy, so journalistically heavy. But I was out there, and
when Hines Ward was a contestant, yeah,
and he won it.
Yeah,
and I mean, it was so much fun. And we went to dinner with some of the professional dancers and Hines and Kim, who was his partner, and he invited us to dinner, and TJ Hott, who was the photographer who was with me, and we went out there twice, and we were out there for when he won. It was so much fun, and so he's connected with one of my favorite stories. But also, I've known him since he was a rookie, and we're really good friends. Yeah, and it was really cool. It's really cool to see him as a consultant with the wide receivers. Really, it was really cool to see him.
Hey, but Sally, you're forgetting when we were both out in Hollywood, and we were on Win, Lose, or Draw. Do you remember that?
Oh, my God. It was Ann Devlin, a guy named Dave Eckert, who was he a weekend anchor? I think
he was an anchor.
He was a weekend anchor.
It was me and you.
And it wasn't Ken. It wasn't Ken Rice, was it?
I have no idea. No. But we did a Win, Lose, or Draw with who was that guy? He's now dead.
Bert Convy.
Bert Convy. And who was? There was a sports.
He's dead now. Didn't he die of a brain tumor?
Yeah, he's been dead a long time. But there was also some sports guy there.
Oh, Steve Garvey.
Steve
Garvey was in the group ahead of us.
That's right.
From the LA Dodgers.
Right, right.
And we talked to them a little bit, and then God bless him, Eric, your brother-in-law.
Right.
Had a friend. Oh, he was friends with Wolfgang Puck, is that right?
Yeah, well, his friend Ricky, so we went, who was very close to Wolfgang Puck. So then we went off to Wolfgang Puck's place, and he came over, and his wife came over. And was that the time that Milli Vanilli was sitting behind us, or was that some other time I was there?
God, I don't know. That must have been another time, because Steve Garvey, coincidentally, was there at the restaurant at another table. And so Ricky said, let's send him a bottle of wine. And he thought we were goofy fans. I mean, he was not very, he was, do you remember? And I was
no, you remember much more than I.
All I remember is back then you wore stockings, and I had a run in my stockings. I was very nervous that people would see it. And this was a very, very fancy, there were stars there and everything. And so I went to the bathroom to see if I could fix it. I remember that distinctly.
That's funny, because the thing I remember about Wolfgang Puck's bathroom was it was the first unisex bathroom I'd ever been in. Because when I went to that bathroom, a guy came out.
Really?
You don't remember that?
I don't remember that. Was that in the 80s? I think it was.
It would have been, it would have been in the 80s. Sally, so you've had this amazing career and all the experiences you get to have and the people you get to meet. Name me a few that just floored you, that you were taught, where you said in the voice in your head, I can't believe I'm sitting here talking to fill in the blank.
Fred Rogers.
Aw, really?
Fred, who became a friend, and Joanne's a dear friend. We're all, Jean Marie Laskus, Kid Ayers. We're all very, we haven't seen Joanne in a while. We need to have another dinner with her. I loved Fred. Who doesn't love Fred? But that was a great honor. Myron Cope. Myron was an interesting individual, and he had his issues, but he sent me a letter encouraging me to be a lady as I did my sportscasting. And he didn't resent that I was doing it. I mean,
what did he mean? Now, wait. What the hell did he mean, the old chauvinist? What did he mean?
No, to be a lady. To have decorum. And you know what? My mother would have said the same thing.
Well, what had you done that made him think?
She would be horrified at me. Nothing. Oh, no. I hadn't, and he wanted me to maintain that. He did. And it resonated with me. I know and now I'm just so salty, and my mother would be horrified. And so, so Myron, Dan Rooney, I did not think I could get through that last night because he was so kind to me and supportive. And at the viewing, one of his daughters said how much he thought of me. And anyway, I feel very honored to have known him, and when I first started going into the locker room, I was very uncomfortable, and he would be there, and he would stand, he would come over, and he would talk to me, so he wouldn't tell me he was trying to make me feel more comfortable, but he was.
So,
he's just,
Sally.
And oh God, there's so many.
Yeah, but go outside. Didn't you ever interview a friggin' president or something? No?
Yes. I interviewed Clinton. I upset him because I upset him. He was not happy with me. I remember that distinctly because I said, "Oh, we have a reporter who used to work in Arkansas, and there's a picture of you with him." He said, "I guess I had a lot less gray in my hair then," and like an idiot, I said, "Yeah, you did."
And you think he took offense?
He was so angry. Yes, he did.
Really?
You can tell when people just shut down. And he did that. I have to tell you, I interviewed Oprah 4 different times.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the times, it was her failed movie, and now she's done so wonderfully with movies that she's produced and that she's been in, like Selma, But then it was after Beloved, and they were doing a press thing, and the top 20 markets. And back then, we were a top 20 market. We're all invited. The anchors of those top 20 markets, I think it was like 94 or something, were invited to interview her, and we interviewed her 2 different days. And the day about the film, she and I started talking about the film. I was the last person. She told everybody they could go home, and she and I just sat and talked about film for about another 45 minutes.
Right.
And then when I was diagnosed, when I had it was a heart attack or an ischemic attack. I don't know. They're not sure what it was, but it was something that screwed my heart up. It was bad. I didn't go to the doctor, and I was basically having a heart attack, and I didn't go to the doctor or the emergency room. And about a week later, they did an EKG, and it showed that it had happened. But anyway, so another cautionary tale. But her people called me and wanted me to be on their heart show and be there in Chicago, and how they have people sitting on the set with them. And and so I was, all excited. And then I had an attack of unstable angina and had to be rushed to the ER.
Wait. On the Oprah show?
No, before it.
Oh, before it.
The day before I was supposed to fly up there. the day before I was supposed to fly up there. And I was in what they call the cardiac intensive care unit. And and then I called, I had to call them and say I can't go. I can't be when they were going to tape it. Well, what was it? No, I was supposed to go up for the taping. And they asked me to go ahead and tape something in Pittsburgh. So I keep forgetting about this. I have the DVD of it. And so we taped something here and interviewed, and somebody sort of interviewed me. And I was on, and when she said, "Thank you so much for that, Sally," I could tell that she remembered me from when I had been there like a year or so before when I interviewed her. I mean, when you can tell when someone knows who you are, or maybe she was just really good at faking it. But so that was yeah. So like I said, I interviewed her about 4 different times, and I have to tell you, I liked her a lot. I did.
Okay, so now the big question: I had Lawrence Welk sexually assault me. Who on the job made a pass at you?
You told me that one.
No, it's such a funny story.
Who's made a pass?
Yeah, at me? Come on, back in the day, come on.
I'm really disappointed to say I don't think anybody did.
Oh, bull!
I don't.
You're kidding.
I tell you, I do have a crush on somebody.
Who?
But I'm not going to tell you who I have a crush on. Nope, not going to tell you. It's a really.
You mean I'm talking about
I have crushes on lots of people.
I'm talking about inappropriate sexual behavior, and then your mind immediately goes to somebody I have a crush, somebody you want to make a pass at you.
Actually, I would. No, not that kind. I honestly, and I've said this on another radio show. In my first job, I don't know if I would call it assault, but I was regularly groped. And held. It was in public. I mean, it was in front of other people.
Oh yeah,
but it
no
was
problem.
Very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was afraid. I was afraid to go in to where they were working to hand them their weather, and so no one back then. This was 1977. It was my first, broadcasting job. No one back then.
So it
would have.
It was
it was in Alabama.
It was the weatherman.
You don't say anything. So what I did? No, it wasn't a weatherman. This was in radio. No, this was these were disc jockeys. And do people even use that word anymore?
I don't know. I don't know.
But anyway, and so I started to swear. I mean, really swear. And because it was the only way I knew to combat them. And that's when I started swearing.
Me too.
And to this, to this day, Andy's sitting here laughing. Andy Cunningham, and I have one of the foulest mouths now. It's terrible.
I don't think you do. My foul mouth is fouler than your foul mouth. And
yeah, actually, you have
a
really foul mouth.
Mine's really.
You're
but
disgusting.
I learned to swear exactly as a defense when I first worked as in a newsroom in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And it was a way of being one of the guys. It was a way of saying, hey, all right, I'm with you. Yep. And I would use the same language, and I had never used that language. And all of a sudden, and now I can't stop.
Yeah, and here's the thing. My sister said this. I don't always agree with what my sister says about me, but she was interviewed in an article about me here, and I can't remember what magazine it was or something. But anyway, she said, Sally, and it's true, Sally doesn't really know how to flirt. And she really knew how to flirt. And I was so shy, painfully shy, especially around guys, and I wouldn't know what to. I either didn't talk or I talk about stupid things, and it wasn't in a flirtatious manner, and so because I felt I couldn't flirt to get what I wanted, not because I was afraid to, I just didn't know how to,
right.
And I was so shy, so I would swear.
I can't flirt, so I'll swear.
How did it make you that? So while it may have deflected, guys who would act inappropriately, it also drove off people that you might want to go out with. And it was like, and my sister said, it's really pathetic. I think part of it had to do when my father died. I was 14.
Right.
And that's a very impressionable age. And my sister was 12, so she didn't have that happen to her. And I think it just, I don't know, it just screwed me up.
Well, I think she's absolutely right, as I think
now,
of
what does
you.
this have to do with my impending retirement? Nothing.
And I can't wait. You in retirement are going to be, I mean, Sally, I think of Sally, she's a whirling dervish. And in retirement, you will be a whirling dervish because you don't...
I want to do a car commercial.
Are you kidding me? You know, I bet you could get the gig.
Do they give you a free car?
Yeah, I think you can definitely get a car off them. Yeah, you can definitely get a car off them, Sal. That might not be a bad idea. But, you know, you do so much work with nonprofits, and you're going to go that way. I mean, you know, the zoo, women's shelter.
But some of them I'd like to volunteer.
Yeah.
Whereas I haven't had time, you're only, you know, you go to board meetings or you MC something.
Right.
I'd like to volunteer.
Right.
And there are a number of things. Some of them would be like with I don't want to be a docent at the zoo, but I would like to work in education maybe and talk to young kids about the importance of conservation and, you know, and defending species and what have you. But also, you know, like I said, you know, my dad died when I was young, and so I'm on the board of the Highmark Caring Place, and I've never been a volunteer, and so I would like to be a volunteer there and help children, you know, who have lost a loved one, and you know, and parents who have lost a child or what have you. So anyway, so I'd like to volunteer with them. You know, I've thought about like accompanying people on bird watching trips. Don't laugh at me. I'm a mammal person. No, but I know you're about to laugh. I love mammals, but on a couple of these trips to Africa and India, I've been fascinated with birds. I'm mainly a mammal person and mainly terrestrial mammals.
Right.
But I did develop.
Hello? We lost her. Sal, you're gone.
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, no, okay, we lost you for a second. Okay, we lost you on, but I did develop a love of some other kind of an animal. Birds.
Marine mammals.
Marine mammals.
When I went to the Sea of Cortez, Baja, and I saw my first 2 blue whales ever in my life, and I touched a gray whale, I fell in love with whales. I fall in love with all kinds of animals.
Well, I know you're an total animal lover.
That's my love. Sports was really a second love. Zoology was my first, and that happened. I think it's inherited, or I think it's genetic, because it was part of me when I was 2 years old.
Love of animals.
I remember.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I remember my parents gave me a plastic horse and the Lone Ranger. And I loved the Lone Ranger only because of Silver. I didn't care about the Lone Ranger. And I loved Rin Tin Tin, and I loved Fury. And so I didn't throw away the Lone Ranger, but I took him off, and I just played with Silver.
So I have video.
Have Silver.
Yeah, okay. You still have Silver. I have video of Sally.
Uh-huh.
I have video of Sally on the back of a horse.
I'm gonna. You know what?
What?
That's so goofy. You did that story about me.
I have video of Sally on the back of a horse doing she's on her knees on the back of the horse with one arm in the air, and she's like doing balletic, beautiful movements, like a circus performer.
No,
right?
I was really bad. I'm not very grateful.
You weren't great, but I don't know many people who would. And are you the one who told me that you put maple syrup on your hands and stuff to stick? Who told me that?
I don't remember. You know what? Maybe you did. Maybe I did. Maybe I don't remember saying that. There's a lot I don't remember anymore.
There was some kind of a tell me. There was some kind of a thing with that. But tell the story about almost dying in was it India? In the wasn't there an alligator incident in India or a?
No, they don't have alligators in India.
Well, then figure it out. What am I talking about?
Was it when the boat had a hole in it, or was it when the hippo rammed it?
The hippo. Okay, it was a hippo.
It was the hippo. Hippos are really dangerous. I think more people are beginning. I love them. They're so ugly. They're beautiful, but they're really dangerous. The males particularly, and they're very territorial. And we were in Botswana, and we finished. It was a horseback safari, and we were done with that. But then we went to this fishing. What do they call them? Property. It was a fishing property that was owned by the person who owned the horseback safari. And there were a group of us, and we were in this. It was a really small boat, not super small, and the guy who was running the property was 25 years old, and he was with his girlfriend, and he had worked in Kruger National Park, which was one of the great national parks in Africa, in South Africa. But anyway, he had come from Kruger, had done work there, and he was doing it, and he was driving the boat. And I remember hearing this noise that sounded like a hippo. We went.
What do you mean?
Like a hippo submerging. It was this like air being expelled from nostrils.
Okay.
And I remember turning to somebody and saying, "God, that sounds like a hippo." And I was nervous.
How did you know? Wait a minute. How did you know what a hippo sounds like before it submerges?
It sure because I'd been in Africa once before, and you hear them. You hear them in the water, so I'd heard it before. It wasn't like it was something strange.
Okay, all right.
And so I was really, and then the next thing we knew, we stood up, and we stood up. Nobody else heard it, so they thought I was nuts. And all of a sudden, we just hear this huge thunk, and the boat, jerks. And I jumped up and went back toward the propeller, and one of the young women almost fell in, and someone grabbed her, and all of a sudden this massive head comes up, and what had happened is a hippo had rammed the boat, but he missed the boat and hit the propeller, and it stunned him. I couldn't see any blood on his head, and then he submerged again. But we were in the middle of the channel, and and it was too deep for him to push off from the bottom and ram us again. And that's what they do. They'll ram boats and turn them over. And so I was like, oh, we're
gonna die. I'm going to be eaten by a hippopotamus.
Oh, I wasn't worried about being. Well, what they do, they don't eat you.
They drown you.
Cut you in half with their. No, they cut you. No, that's a cross. They cut you in half with their tusks. Just because you're in their way, they don't eat you. They eat grass.
Those huge animals are. Those huge animals are.
Yeah, they don't eat me. Most of really large animals are herbivores. Elephants, hippos, rhinos. They don't eat things.
All right, I guess that's true. Okay.
Someone's calling me from San Diego. I can't imagine who that is. But anyway.
Well.
And so what happened is that he knocked the motor out, and we started drifting, and it was dusk. And then I remember saying to the young man, "So where is the next settlement?" As we're drifting down the river, and he said 3 days, and I said, "What?
3 days." This is the safari, by the way, that you had asked me to go on. Do you remember?
Yeah,
you said, "I'm doing." You said, "I'm doing." I said, "Jews don't ride horses." That's what I said.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Which is not, I guess,
anyway,
true. But no, I'm so glad I wasn't there.
No, there are actually some very famous Olympians who are Jewish. equestrian Olympian. So anyway, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so we started drifting, and they found us. But what happened is I was talking so loudly that the crocs on the banks, who are sleeping at night, you could hear this plop, 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 plop.
They were coming into the water?
Into the water.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, they were coming into the water. Because I was talking really loudly because I was saying, 3 days. And then the guy is to push us out of the weeds where the snakes were. He lost the pole. He pushes away from all the where snakes, sometimes poisonous snakes, are like wrapped around the reeds. And he lost it, and I'm like, ah. So I picked up a folding chair and started to try to push us away from the reeds, because I used to like snakes. I wanted to be a herpetologist, but then for some reason I just started to not like snakes anymore, and I'm very afraid of black mambas. I'm terrified of black mambas, very very terrified. I always ask about black mambas every safari I'm on. Well, it's obsessive.
Are they?
They're evil snakes. Oh, very large and very fast and very aggressive.
And how do they kill you?
And it's a horrible death. How
do they kill? How do you die if a black mamba gets you?
They're poisonous.
Oh, so it's just poison?
And I don't think there's an anti-venom for black mambas. I'm not sure. Anyway. So it's almost time. I wasn't supposed to talk to you.
All right.
Talk about my retirement.
Okay. Well,
which isn't coming for another year.
I know, but you're the one who made the big to-do, and you're on the front page of the paper and all.
That was not my decision.
Okay,
they made the decision. Well, not that they didn't make the decision. That's not fair. They asked me if I wanted, because we had planned to do this mid-year, because I was still going to be on the air doing Chronicle, and you'd see me periodically. And so we thought there would be no need, and my agent said, let's just do this mid-year. And then they approached me and said they knew that I wasn't going to be doing Bundle Up, because that was my choice. I had choices of what projects I wanted to do, and I thought was time for somebody else to do it, but I wasn't going to be on the show at all. And I think that they were concerned that they didn't say that, but maybe they were concerned that people would wonder where I was. So they wanted, and they also knew that we would have a really large audience. It's one of the largest audiences we have, the 5 minutes before the game on Monday Night Football.
I know.
They said, would you like to do it then? And I forgot to call my agent and tell her that I made the decision. Normally I discuss everything with her, and that was wrong of me, because she might have advised me against it, because people will think that I'm retiring now, and I'm not, even though they were very clear, and we were very clear that it wasn't going to happen for a year. But one of the things he said, it would be a chance for you to thank. And that's why I wanted to do it. It would be a chance, because it was going to be my last black and gold prime time if there's no Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it would be a chance for me to thank the Rooney, and thank the team, and thank them.
Well, so that worked out.
Yeah. And I will have to say this. Ben was so cute. I did a story with him. I've done a story every year, and he did a news conference last night. Mm-hmm. And he knew, we talked about it, that I was going to be leaving. And I said, well, I'll see you again. And I didn't want to say the word because I didn't want to jinx it. And he said, this was after the interview. He said, I'll see you in Minnesota. Because I'm always afraid of jinxing.
Well, then he jinxed it. You didn't.
No, but he didn't jinx it. So they want to be there. It's okay for them to say, we want to be in Minnesota. And because the Super Bowl's in Minneapolis. But when I said it last night, I said, everybody, I will see you in Minnesota. I'll be with Black and Gold Prime Time. And I refused to say the word Super Bowl. And so Andrew Stockey said to me, I was confused at what you were trying to say. You just should have come out and said Super Bowl. But I was afraid that it would be a jinx. So I didn't say that. But I will be covering it. I'll be there that week if we go. So if we go. I say we, if they go. I don't play football. I hate it when we say we. We don't get out there and sacrifice our health and, and our physical well-being. We just cheer for them because they do it. And but anyway, so Ben had his news conference, and he came in, and I remember, I only do this once or twice a year. Well, no, I do it maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But I don't ask questions usually because I feel like I'm not there every time, so it's not fair for me to take up air in the room. So he walks in and he looks straight at me and he said, "Sally?" I was so shocked.
Oh, you mean he went to you for the first question?
He called on me like I was in class.
Did you have a question?
No. Well, I did. Actually, I did. But he shocked me, so I just sat there. And God bless Guy Junker, who was sitting next to me. He jumped right in and asked how Brian affected them. Then I jumped in with a question, and I said, "You guys came out better after halftime. What was said to you? What did you talk about? What did you do?" And I said, I don't need specifics, obviously, but something settled you. And so he answered the question. I thought it was a good question. I did. and so I did, but and it's just like him. It was very sweet, actually, for him to do that.
Okay, well, I got
sat there like an idiot.
Sal, I got news for you because I know you got to get off, and actually the show is pretty much over anyway. But this just in, Dorothea writes, "Lynn, now that we got a job for you, Sal. Now that Sally is retiring, she can be a regular on your show. Or when you can't make it, she can host your show. God knows we could certainly use the levity. So there you go, Sally. You can do my show."
Yeah, but that won't be for a year, and that's a year away. That's a year
Fine,
away.
and in a year
in a year what?
In a year, I'll be half dead, and you can come in and spell me.
It's true. But see, that's what people do. I am still working for WTAE for the next year. But someone put it this way. It's like a Kobe Bryant or a Derek Jeter, announcing that it's going to be their last year. Like I'm
right.
comparing myself to some of the greatest athletes in basketball and baseball. But it's like a tour, like on this Chronicle. Thanks very much for helping me with this, and then it's like a tour of Chronicles and Black as Gold primetime. So, but anyway, but I think that they were right. It was probably a good thing to do it when there are a lot of people watching. But the thing is, people think I'm retiring now. I'm not retiring.
No, I think you made very clear you weren't, and people will continue to see you. So that's not a big deal. I just want to say that Pittsburgh has been very lucky to have you to turn to, and for somebody who didn't go to journalism school, you sure did a hell of a job, in spot news situations, and you could do it all. You can absolutely do it all. So, and all the stuff you've done in the community. Well, I've been surrounded by great people. For instance, the Peabody that the station was awarded for the burning questions, and the Chronicle was only part of that. There was a whole series. And it was all Paul Van Osdal, our amazingly brilliant investigative reporter. It was all his idea. And so when people say that the Chronicle won it, it did, but it really, it was part of it, but it wasn't, it was Paul. So I've been surrounded by people who are extraordinary. You were one of the extraordinary storytellers at our station. Extraordinary. You were offered a job at every freaking major O&O, Chicago, L.A., New York, and you stayed in Pittsburgh. We stay in Pittsburgh. I don't know. It grows on you. When I came here, I wasn't crazy about it, and then I fell in love with it. So yeah, they grabbed us.
I have to thank Pittsburgh for that.
Well, Sally, Sally, I'm proud of you, and you've left quite a legacy. Although she ain't gone yet. Okay.
No, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. But thank you. I said I wasn't going to talk an hour, and we did.
No, I thought that. I thought Sally said she can't be on for an hour, and then I thought to myself, she'll be on for an hour.
Well, my breakfast sandwich is cold, so I don't know what I'm going to do now.
Okay.
So, anyway.
All right. Hey, congratulations again. And
by the way, I wanted to thank Maria Shulot. She did a great piece in the post of that.
It's a wonderful piece.
To thank her.
Okay.
Yeah, so, anyway.
Always gracious. Miss Sally Wiggin, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Love you. So, and this just in, not that I'm surprised, John Conyers has resigned. I knew that he was holding he was going to do something, and what the hell was there for him to do except say, okay, goodbye. So a lot of people, Sally Wiggin and John Conyers, ladies and gentlemen. It's amazing. Well, okay. Just wanted to give Sal her due because she's really done some pretty extraordinary work here. And most of it, I just want to say off the air, okay? She is an indefatigable volunteer for anybody who asks her. I mean, she's emceed every event in town. And I don't know that there's a night that she's not out doing something that she is not compensated for just to help out a charity or a nonprofit. She's an extraordinarily giving person. And, okay, so that's it. I'll tell you what. Susan's coming on tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the horrors again. This was a respite for me, I hope for you. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.